question that, okay, in the previous session, where did we left exactly? Where did we left? We left at this question, I think. How to restrict a property such that it should not be part of declarative rule? You have an option. We generally don't bother about this option, but when the question is asked in interviews, you feel like they are asking something in depth, but it is not in depth. It is just a basic in property, making it not available for a declarative rule. Which property you want? It can never be part of declarative expression. PX create data target property as a target property. It should never be a target property. Okay, if you apply a little bit of knowledge, you will be understanding this. Okay, this is about, we have seen rules and then basics of rules and then some of the things in between we have seen. Okay, what are the other things? Okay, let me tell you one question. From this we'll understand how to restrict, not how to restrict, how to unlock a rule set, right? Unlock a rule set version. How to unlock a rule set version when you don't have a password? You forgot the password of a rule set version, or you don't have a password. Rule set version will be secured with locking, right? How would you unlock it? So it's not about answering this question. If you are going to answer this question, it should show your knowledge. So now tell me, okay, if you know the process, if you have read in groups or somewhere, you tell me straightforward what is the answer. Unlock rule set versions, that is for work object you are saying. Force unlock method for work objects you are saying. Now I'm asking about rule set version will be there, right? In the rule. Okay, first of all, if you don't know answer also, no problem. First of all, when you open the rule set version expand and click on lock button, give password, confirm password and click on OK, right? It will be locked. You should know what is happening in the background. If you know what is happening in the background, this one you can implement. If you don't know what is happening in the background, you cannot answer this question. So that is the level. So that's why I had put this question here. Instead of straightforward interview questions, these are the questions which shows your knowledge. Now tell me, when you are going to lock a rule set version, what may happen in the background? I am not expecting your exact table names and all. What may happen in the background? You have registered in a Facebook account, right? When you register in Facebook account, what happens in the background? It stores what it will store. It will store username and password in encrypted manner, or somehow it will store, right? What does that mean? Your account is secure on that password or not? Your account is locked on that password. Huh? Same concept here. Now tell me what happens when you lock a rule set version. It will store this particular data in not PRSys logs. This should be related to rule set table somewhere. Rule set version table. Rule set table will be there, versions. Okay, rule data rule set something is there. Okay, what is the table name if you want to know? How would you know? I want to know rule set related table name. I don't know actually this time. I want to know. How would I know? Open the rule set. Okay, let me open this rule set. Next. Okay, so no, if you do not know the things, that's not a problem. If you don't know how to trace it, that is the problem. Okay, px obj class. So this is related to rule set, but this is not we want. Here if you see, a rule set will have multiple versions, right? It is like a page list or page. Page or page list? Page list. So that means inside this you should have other classes also, other list. You look at here. It has started here, not here. Hang on. Here you see. If you look at here, rule set version is the class. If you go to the next level, here you have again rule set version. Rule set version, whatever it is there, it will be for rule set different versions. Okay, wherein which it deals with version 1, 2, 3, 4 and all. Rule set name is for rule set. Rule set version is for version related table. Now tell me, when you are going to lock it, what will happen? In the background, what will happen? For this particular rule set version, can I have different passwords for different versions? That means it should have a specific table, right? For each version, specific entry should be there. Version 1, one entry. Version 2, another entry. Version 3, another entry in the table, some table. The table name is, I am not asking exact table name. Table related class when I say table. Table name is rule set version. Rule set version table will have some entries for each entry for one version. In each entry, you should have a column which talks about password. Which talks about password. Password should be there. So if the rule set version has password, that column has some password information, right? If rule set version does not have password, then empty. That should be empty. That field should be empty. In the table rule set version, one column should be there which is for password. That column should have a value, that is a password. If it doesn't have a value, means you unlocked it, right? It is unlocked. If it is locked, that should have a value. Now tell me, what is the solution for this? Table you have found, right? What is the table? Okay, you need to update the rule set version table. You need to update, right? What to update? Password field. You have to update it to what? You have to update it to blank. Null is a value. It should be blank. Means no text is there. Nothing is there. Nothing is there means it will be unlocked, right? That is what you have to do. This is the way you need to understand Pega. So you need to find out the table where this rule set version will. Suppose you are not saying rule set version where you have py version password. That is the property name. Py version password column will be there. That column you should update to blank. You don't know all this. Now what is the approach? So you need to find out the table which is related to storing of this rule set version information along with password. There should be a column to store the password. You have to make that column field empty. Now you have knowledge. Given the environment, can you find out all this? Environment is in your hand. Now can you find out all the rule set version related classes, columns and all? So py version password. This field deals with, if any, okay, this field deals with encrypted password. You make it blank. You don't know what is encryption. You are not required to decrypt. We are not hacking it. We are just making it blank. That's it. You make this one blank, it will be unlocked. Along with this is up to your knowledge of like implementation, what you have understand. But if you are going to learn it, there is another property called py version secure. Py version secure equal to false, meaning that it is unlocked. This version is unsecure. Unsecure means it is not locked. Along with property py version password making blank, you need to do assign one more property called py version secure equal to false. If you make it false, done. These two you have to set. If you make py version secure true and password you make it blank, it is been locked with empty password. Correct or not? Okay, so that should not be the case. This should be the case of making both updated. Yeah, you try it. You try all these permutations, what you are saying. Make one false and other one you keep it. How it behaves, you see. But these two properties you have to update. So this is the functionally what you have understand. So here the point is, Whether you know this rule set tables or not, it doesn't matter. You know Pega or not. If you know Pega, you should have to give the answer this way. We need to update one of the table where this rule set versions will be saved. Password should be updated in one of the column. We need to make that column as empty. Up to this, it shows my knowledge of learning Pega. If you know exactly, then it is well and good. Once you read, you will come to know, once you work on it. But once you work on it, suppose if you are going to read this in any portal, any of the WhatsApp group or any of the Facebook groups, that knowledge is only up to theory part. Only you know theory, but you did not understand exactly what is been happening in the background. But your idea to learn Pega is, when you are learning, you have to learn the background processing, what is happening. This is clear? Okay, this is functional point, right? Now tell me technically what are the activity steps you have to implement for this. I have given you a solution, right? You need to update this to blank, this column 1 to blank, another column to false. These two columns in a database table you need to update to required values. Now what is the technical steps in the activity, step by step? First, what we need to do? చెప్పండి ఏంటి? First we need, suppose if you want to update anything in Pega, what you should do first? You need to open it first. First of all, you need to identify this record, PZINS key you have to get from here and open this record. Acquire a lock if required, otherwise not. Some of the rules, some of the entries, I mean instances, do not require any locking. Okay, so acquire lock if required, otherwise not required. Do not acquire the lock. Okay, we have acquired lock or we don't acquire, leave about it. We need to open it first. I have opened it. That is one step. What is the next step? You need to do property set. After that, save it and then commit if required. Is it same as work object updating? Work object updating, if I ask you how to update a work object, you will tell clearly. But if I ask you this, it is also same. But you don't know the subject, that's why you are struggling to answer all this, because it is also same as how you update work object, how you update rule set also same. To have no password means you are making it empty, that's it. Opening the rule set related table, version related table, opening record, setting it to blank and updating it back to table. Rule set version is unlocked. This is the way you have to learn Pega. So this is the point that I wanted to discuss in order to give you knowledge about this interview sessions. In this interview sessions, this is the way you have to learn. Okay, this is clear? So is this okay, correct way?
Yes. But takes time.
If you learn this way, what happens? You can do anything in Pega. Okay, now I'll ask you a question. So you have check in check out, right? For rules, I have checked in a rule. You should not use the rule form to check out it. You have to go back and write a generic activity. For that activity, if I pass the PZINS key of any rule, that should be checked out. This is the question. So I have many rules in BRBC which has check in check out. If I give you PZINS key and pass the PZINS key as a parameter to that activity, that should check out the rule. First you should know what is happening in the background when you check in, right? So you are not required to tell me exact table names. Tell me general process, what might happen when you check in a rule. When you check in a rule, okay, it should update where? It should update in the rule table. What would have been updated? It's not availability, man. Huh? I am not asking about check-in check-out process. I have given you a rule. You check in, you click on check in, you give comments and submit, right? What happens in the background that says this rule is check in? There should be a column which talks about whether this particular record is check in check out. If that column says check in, then it will not be, sorry, it will be available to everyone to open it when you see it. If that column says column value equal to checkout, then when you are trying to open that rule, it will first look at the table. Okay, column is checkout, so check-in button is invisible, checkout button is invisible, I'm sorry. Clear? That is how visibility conditions are applied. Now exactly what is the column I don't know, but I should know this. I should know the fact that when you check in checkout in the rules tables, it will update some column related to this, saying whether this particular rule is check in checkout. So now tell me the solution for an activity. I want to write an activity which using which you should be able to check out any rule. What you should do? What are the steps in the activity? You have to open the rule. Obj open my handle. You will open the rule. Next, property set that particular column to say suppose checkout value. You update it to checkout. Then obj save and then commit. Is it same as work object saving updating? So everything is same. I am asking you, if I ask you how to update a work object, you feel it like a simple question. If I ask you write an activity which will check out all the rules in PRPC, then you feel it difficult, but it is not difficult. So if you understand Pega, it is not difficult. If you do not understand Pega, then it is difficult. So if you should think in this way, okay, if you start working this way, understand Pega this way, everything in PRPC is easy. This is clear? So you can create a number of questions like this on your own. If I ask these questions in interviews, really no one is going to answer, right? It will be difficult. Those who understand PRPC clearly about the tool, how it behaves, then only. Okay, now I will tell you another question. I will ask another question. Work object is there, right? Whenever a request is opened, work object lock will be acquired. Now I want you to write an activity. For that activity, if you pass any work object ID, which should be unlocked. So now here, work object locking and unlocking should be maintained by one column somewhere in one table, correct or not? So you need to open that particular table record and then relate it to unlocking. So here in this case, it's not only one column which will update. In this case which we are discussing, it's a row will be inserted. When the work object is locked, meaning that one row will be inserted in PRC locks table. Work object unlocked means that row will be deleted from the PRC locks table. Go to that table and delete that record. It will be unlocked or not? You have force unlocking mechanism, right? That is going to work this way only. Force unlocking mechanism is going to identify the PRC locks table and delete the entry forcefully and commit it. Even though you open and acquire a lock, it will be deleted, it will be unlocked, someone else can work on it. Release other session button will be provided, right? That will do deleting from the PRC locks table. So all these requirements what we have discussed, 4 different requirements related to work object, related to rules, all these deals with same. Obj open, update the column and save the column. Here in the latter case, obj delete and then commit the table, done. This can be the situation or that can be the situation, depends. But your approach is important. Whether you are trying with an approach which is valid or not. Final answer is correct or not is secondary. So this is the way you have to start thinking about PRBC. This is clear, everyone. If you are going to look at PRBC learning this way, any interview, any question will be simple. Okay, exactly, you should know the subject behind it. Any question is being asked will be asked within the subject only. If you don't know the subject of where exactly it will save, I mean how exactly PRBC behaves while saving or check in, check out, all this, you cannot tell any answers. It will be difficult. This is where you are facing difficulty. Okay, further proceeding. Okay, what is this? Rule set version. Table has 2 columns. What are the columns? PY version password and PY version secure. I will ask a question now. Is it PY or PX? Why it is P? I think it is PX now. Interview is saying it is PX version password, PX version secure. Why? See, if it is PX, you would not have been updating this in an activity. That you should know. PY version password, PY version secure. should be updated to, I say, empty and false. Okay, these steps and all you should know. So these questions really I am not giving you to read the questions. As what we are learning, just I am drafting here, just on top level. Okay, this is about rules, and rules how will behave, and tables how it will react, and if you want to update something, how do you update all these things and all we'll be learning. So let's jump on to something else. Classes, huh? Okay, I'll ask another question. Okay, it is very simple. If you want to delete a class, how do you delete? Okay, refactoring, delete a class. I want you to write an activity to delete a class. What do you need? Class will save into, okay, whatever it is, it will save into, what is the table for the class name, role. So a class is an instance of rule obj class. In the rule obj class table, you need to delete this entry. If you delete this entry, will this delete class? Will delete or not? Delete class. That's it, simple. So this is how you have to think about. Okay, next further. Okay, next, what are the other difficulties that you feel? Inheritance is just a relation, right? If you delete this, relation will be gone, done, not a problem. You will not be further able to use the inheritance path. That's it. Okay, someone was asking a question. Group lo post chesaru someone. What is the question? I'll read out from the group. One second, hang on. Um, okay, so this is the question. What is dual inheritance in Pega? What is dual inheritance? Dual inheritance in Pega. Can anyone explain with example? Okay, that is one question. If child work object information is stored in parent table like PC work, what we have, under which column we can see the child work object information? Are there any embedded pages in PZPV stream column? First answer me the second one. Okay, this is the second question. If child work object saves in PC work table, meaning that same as parent case. Which column holds child work object data? Is it PZPV stream going to have embedded pages, meaning that the structure of the parent child will be maintained inside that. That is the meaning. Okay, now answer this second question. First question will come to that later. Where the child work object gets saved, PC work table means same as parent case. In which column it will store? In which column? PZ. So how it will store? Will that have embedded pages? Then how? Hmm? No. What is the meaning here is, It will store the parent work object data. Under the parent work object data, inside PZ stream, will it embed the child work object data? That is what his intention. చెప్పండి. So if you have a table, in the table, one row is for one work object, right? So parent work object data, child work object data will be there in same PZ stream cell or different cells of different rows. This is what our learning. So that means if it is same cell, if you fetch the parent work object data, will it get the child work object data also? Is that correct? So when you pull a parent work object, will it pull all the child work object data? It is going to pull or it is not going to pull? It will not pull, means it's in the same row or different row? Different row, right? It will maintain one row for parent, one row for child, one row for another child. There is no embedded pages, nothing like for storing work object parent child. So each will have its own paperwork page. Each will have its own class, but all of these will save into same table. But if parent work object holds one row, is there in one row, child will be there in another row, and another child will be there in another row. Each works independently. Can you open child work object? You can open, right, without disturbing parent and all. If you are able to open like that, does it mean it is saving separately or it is saving along with parent work object in embedded pages? Separately. That you should know. This is basic way of learning and basic thinking. Okay, you should not get the questions like this. Parent children gets stored in separate rows. Each have its own row. Now coming to same table. That is what by default, right? Same table. Now coming to this question, what is dual inheritance in Pega? What is dual inheritance? Chapani. See, do not give me one word answer. Just tell me how you will express in an interview. What is dual inheritance in Pega? Same parenting. See, generally, if you look at other technologies, .NET, Java, other technologies, a class can have a parent class can have a parent class, that can have a parent class. This is multi-level inheritance, correct? Same is possible in PRPC. Either direct inheritance, it is possible. Direct parent you have, direct parent will have another direct parent will have another direct parent. It's multi-level inheritance. Pattern inheritance, pattern parent will have another pattern parent, that will have another pattern parent. This is also multi-level inheritance. You have direct inheritance, pattern inheritance. You know, right? What is direct, what is pattern. Now what is dual inheritance is, one class is going to have, okay, now before we proceed to this, which of these inheritance is mandatory? Direct inheritance or pattern inheritance? Direct inheritance is mandatory. That means without a pattern inheritance, you can create a class. Without direct inheritance, it is a mandatory field. Simply speaking, you cannot create any class without a direct parent, right? Having a class with only direct parent means it is following direct inheritance. Having a class with pattern inheritance means it is following pattern inheritance plus it is following direct as well. Having two parents, one is direct parent, one is pattern parent at a time. This is what type of inheritance in Java? Multiple inheritance. But this was not possible in other technologies using classes. It was possible using interfaces. So having one class, a direct plus pattern parent at a time, is called dual inheritance in Pega. This is called dual inheritance. At a time you are having pattern parent as well as child parent. I'm sorry, direct parent. At a time, a class having direct plus pattern inheritance makes the class to have multiple inheritance. So this in PRBC is called dual inheritance. Okay, I'll ask you a few questions. I have class A dash, B dash, C. For C, A is for C, B is pattern parent. For B, A is direct parent. Okay, now you have a rule in class A. Can I use that rule in class C directly, like through the inheritance? Is it possible or not possible? Why it is not possible? Hmm? చెప్పండి. Okay, for C, B is pattern parent, right? For B, A is direct parent. In this situation, can you say is parent to C or not? If A is parent to C, then you can use any rule in A to C, right? That means you should be able to use. But PRBC will not work like this. When you have a direct parent, when you have a class has pattern parent. Pattern parent is parent to grandchild. This should be proceeded same pattern. If you have anywhere this relation is broken to have any other direct parent, then that will not work. So your pattern parent's direct parent is not parent to grandchild. Suppose you have a class C. For C, B is direct parent. For B, A is pattern parent. Now this relation is broken. Direct pattern. So upper class will not become parent to lower class. Only middle class. That's it. So like this, pattern parent should be followed. Otherwise direct should be followed. Only this is the way of inheritance in Pega. A pattern parent, direct parent, or a direct parent's pattern parent will never become a parent to grandchild. Okay, simply to remember, that should be followed. Pattern should be there in the chain. Otherwise linking should be direct. At a time having direct and pattern is dual inheritance. Okay, at a time having two types of inheritances. Your class has two parents. It's not don't understand like two parents. You understand like at a time having two parents with two different inheritances. That is, one parent is by means of direct inheritance, another parent is by means of pattern inheritance. This is called dual inheritance in Pega. This is clear. So this is about dual inheritance in PRBC. So all these will not be taught to you by anyone. You should gain the knowledge, thinking it functionally how it is behaving. Okay, testing it functionally how it behaves. Okay, understanding it, applying your knowledge. Okay, this one is clear, everyone? Okay, any other question? Okay, let's go ahead and proceed forward with other questions. What are the other questions? You are asking a question. What was that?
So, if suppose that there is a service, the connect service is
Connect soap or connect service?
connect soap. Then he told that the XML format he using, but after some time he want to use JSON format.
Okay.
Then he want to complete change the XML to JSON. How to use?
Okay. Now I'll tell you requirement. We have a connect soap. Okay. The question is like this. So you need to think about it and give me an answer. Okay. We have a connect soap rule. So which will return soap response, right? Usually. That means you are sending an XML request. Service is sending you XML response. This is how it is working today. After 1 year, everything is done. After 1 year, service and they have made changes. They are accepting XML request, but they are not sending XML response. They are sending JSON response. In your connect soap rule, you need to parse the JSON response now. This is the requirement, correct or not?
Yes, we want to completely change the XML format to JSON format.
Okay, whatever it is. Yeah, this is okay. What is that? You are getting XML JSON response, right?
Yes, completely means what is the using this request and response is XML format.
Oh.
But after some time, completely JSON format. Means
Request response both changed to.
both changes.
So did they updated the service or it is SOAP service only?
SOAP service.
Only SOAP service. Yeah. That is the question. Okay, question it's not only one, it is both changed. So you have a SOAP service. SOAP service. It will not support. Leave it. Okay, I think the question is correct. What the question is? If it is REST, you drop off this service and do a new test, new connection with the REST. Answer is straightforward. If you have a connect SOAP where you have request XML, response XML, later service provider change it to REST, you have to do the REST integration and implement it. That's not a big deal. But here problem is there are situations in real time when you send an XML request, other people will send you JSON response. That is possible in services. Now you need to read the JSON response into your SOAP. Is it possible or not possible? So if you want to parse any data, any structured data, you have methods available. What methods? Apply parse XML, apply parse JSON, apply parse MQ, apply parse XYZ. Available, right? If you create any rule like that, up to request you will send XML. When you receive response, instead of apply parse XML, you use apply parse JSON. You parse JSON response. Done. You need to change that. You need to create a new JSON response rule and call apply parse JSON rule. That's it. Completed. Okay, there are situations, there are services behaves like this in real time. But here only thing is you should know that apply parsing techniques are available. Individually we can use parsing techniques in the activities. Can you call a JSON rule in XML response tab? Okay, generally I'll tell you. Look at here. Integration version, right? See how it works. You have a connect SOAP rule, right? Integration connectors, connect SOAP rule is there. When you have a connect SOAP rule, how it will execute? First it will execute the request service tab. Service tab it will take the endpoint URL, but you can pass endpoint URL at the time when you are calling service also. Reading from DSS. So it will identify the method. What is the method in the service? In the method it will take the parameters. Next it will execute request tab. Request tab it will take the stream rule and make a service call. Send a call to service stream rule. After this is completed, it will execute response tab. In the response tab, you should have a parse rule. Suppose parse rule, is it mandatory? Parse rule is mandatory. ఇక్కడ చూడండి సేవ్ చేసి వచ్చా కదా సేవ్ చేసా కూడా ఎస్ అంటే ఇంకేం చేయను is it mandatory? So this is not mandatory. Parse rule is not mandatory means you are not required to parse it. Parsing or not depends on your requirement. I want to get this XML data as it is displayed somewhere or stored. Do I need to parse? No need to parse it, right? So parsing or not is in your hands. Now what is happening? They are sending JSON response. Do I need to call any parse XML here? So I am not required to call. So you can see the data types. Do you have anything? Okay, map to. Usually if you go to map to, XML literal is there, right? You have string and other things, but you don't have anything related to JSON. First thing, if it is possible here, you can do here. If it is not possible here, JSON response will be retrieved. JSON response will be assigned to one property on clipboard. That you need to parse. For that, you need to create a JSON rule. JSON rule you have to call in the activity. In the activity, how would you call? Let me go to activity. Okay, let me create here itself. It is part of SOAP message only. It will come to clipboard on some page, assigning to some property entire JSON. JSON format will be held by one property, that you should know. So here we have apply parse related to JSON. It should have related to that something. Do you have anything related to JSON? HTTP. Yeah? You have to go ahead and call here. Oh, not connect SOAP. I'm sorry. Apply parse technique. Apply parse delimited, apply parse structured, XML. Question like this. Do you have anything related to JSON? Okay, the best what you can do is you can go ahead and create JSON. It will create a parse rule. For parsing that, it will call one of the JSON related rule. The same way you can implement. I think it is only delimited. You can use the delimited character in the JSON, that is curling braces or something will be there. Okay, you can use that. That way you can define the structure. This is possible from any request. Request can be something different. Response can be different. Maybe you work on implement, it will take some time for you, but you should have the approach. So you should be confident enough that request and response can be in different formats, even though you are using SOAP. Okay, there are situations where services take XML data, response JSON, where services take JSON request, response with XML, response with some other format, delimited format. It is possible.
Response has to be XML.
No.
Within XML, JSON has to be.
No. That is not required.
Otherwise, it's not so.
See, you cannot say, okay, if you say it is not SOAP, it is not SOAP. It's a mixed kind of web service you have to say. But web services protocols like SOAP, these are defined. Protocol means it's a set of rules that you need to follow. You follow this rule, you break the rule, who is going to ask you? Is the service defined to have the mandatory request and response as XML? It's not mandatory. I have shown you, right? Your response is not mandatory here. If it is mandatory XML response, that they would have made it mandatory. You must have one XML response. Okay, you are saying within XML response a tag will have JSON, correct? That's not true. It can be a JSON response. It can be any response. There are many services in real time you find like this.
In that case, we better have a REST service which will.
No, but they are not changing request format. They are changing only response format. It depends on how the service provider is implementing. That's it. Okay, you will find the situations like this where you are being given with requirement. You send one request, X request, Y type of response you have to get, and parse it. You can get it and parse it. Okay, so this is the question. Might be any other questions?
ఏదైనా పాజిబిలిటీ ఉంటుందా వేరే వాళ్ళు ఏం వర్క్ చేస్తున్నారో చూడడానికి
వర్క్ చేసిందా యాక్సెస్ చేసేదా? వర్క్ చేసేది డిఫరెంట్. ఇఫ్ సమ్మన్ ఈస్ క్రియేటింగ్ ఎన్ యాక్టివిటీ యూ హావ్ టు సీ దట్. వాళ్ళ ల్యాప్టాప్కి వెళ్ళి చూడాలి. సో బట్ యూ కెన్ అప్డేట్. రిమోట్ ట్రేసర్ పర్పస్ ఏంటి? ఓకే, it will trace. Will you be exactly knowing what functionality is implementing? You don't know actually. What activities are executing in the background, what sections, what flow actions, what harness, that and all. If you want to exactly know if they're okay, you need to ask the question. If they're working on activity, you should see they are working on activity, right? I think that is not possible. Okay, there is a possibility in Pega 6. If you have used the Pega 6 version, if I create an activity, if I'm working on activity, it will update the information on the home screen. So and so operator updated this activity. So and so operator worked on this section. That and all information, let's like a what is that? RSS feed will be updated. That is not available by default on the home screen of Pega 7. You can make it available. If you update on activity, others will come to know you have worked on this activity, but they cannot see what exactly you are working. This might be the question. Any other questions?
We have a connector that is in production environment.
Okay.
We can change response parameters. How we can.
Yesterday we did discuss about this, right? Okay. You have a connect soap which is available in production. Connect soap available in production, right? So now you have worked on this for some time. Service provider has updated response, correct? Accordingly you need to read. Now suppose today your response has 3 properties. Okay, like this: tag 1, tag 1, tag 2. You have tag 2, tag 1, and what is that? Tag 3. Like this your response is there. So service provider now is accepting the input, same input, but he has updated it to here. There is a tag added, new tag. Okay. Now 3 will become 4. In place of 3, you got a new tag. This will become 4, right? That means your parse structure is changed. So this is the requirement. How do you work on this? So your request or response XML structures will be defined by what rule you should know. By what? Which defines the request and response structures, endpoint URLs, all these will be defined by WSDL. Means your WSDL should be loaded freshly. Updated with, you should have in your application updated WSDL. Right? So you have to load that XSD. Freshly you have to load your WSDL. Your response will be updated. You can run the wizard and do it. Suppose there are two ways. You run the wizard entirely at a time once again, or you load the WSDL again. Which one is easy? Load the WSDL. If you go to connect soap rule, WSDL tab, here you go, this is WSDL, right? Okay, here you can go ahead and you can update this WSDL by loading it. If you have edit icon and loading it, that is possible, you can load. Otherwise you have to go ahead and maybe here again you have to run the wizard up to loading the WSDL. Okay, there are two ways. I think it should be available, made available. I'm not sure. It's read only. Yeah. But there is a possibility. When you run the wizard, it's you are not selecting loading WSDL URL. You have to select XSD file. You got it? And XSD file you can load. Otherwise, in the WSDL also you have two options. One radio button is load it from a document, load it from URL. We are giving URL. Load it from a document means if you have WSDL document on your home machine, you can upload the WSDL document. It will update this. WSDL updated means it will update this WSDL response structure and everything is updated. You can manually create these properties if you want. Otherwise, if you run the wizard, wizard will create additional properties. So everything will be done by wizard except this cannot be done by wizard. This cannot be updated. Wizard is not going to add a property in between. So if you open the XML response also, look at here. Where is the response? So if you open response or request, here, suppose if I have to add somewhere in between this one and this one, if I have to add, select it and click on add element, it will not add in between. It will add inside. Inside means that is child of the current one. But this is not required. What is required is in between these two, there is another element added. You cannot do it actually. So that is not possible. So for that, you need to select this and add attribute. Oh, hang on. What is that? I think you don't have facility to move on. Do you have? I think you can move on adding this, but this should not work like this. Hang on. I will add attribute. I can place attribute in between. Okay. So otherwise, I think this cannot be moved actually. Now this is moving. 7.2. It's moving. Here also it is moving, right? But it was not like this before. It was not moving. If it is moving, it is pretty straightforward, right? But you can add an attribute in between and you can work on it. But in 6 and all, it will not move. Okay, it will not move. So you can add a new tag and then move it accordingly, place it somewhere. So that is the structure that you will update. So this is the question that would have been asked. Okay, like this you can update. Okay, when you complete this wizard once, you have already completed a wizard itself will create one work object internally. Did you identify any time? If you are second time running, it will show one new screen where already completed service on the same URL will be available. You can reinitiate it. Better not to run it again, reinitiate it again. That will update the things. Okay, so that is the approach that you need to follow. This is the question. So if you want to know all these things, you should understand to update WSDL. Without knowing to update WSDL, you create a property and you add the property here element and map it, it will not work. Your WSDL should be updated. That is the correct approach. Otherwise, it will not work. Check-in comments. Yeah, on a rule, if you want to look at the check-in comments, go to history, scroll down, last updated by whom. If you click on view full history, you'll see all this check-in information. Here you'll see multiple records of data. Okay, you can click on updated by someone.
Actually, in Clean we have one flow calling multiple flows, right? Like
Obviously.
yeah. So, but whenever we run a flow,
Initial creation saved this record skimmed to another version. Like this history will be maintained.
like whenever we run a flow, it will create work object, right? But in like when we are doing it in application level, it might call internally like multiple flows, but it will not create internal work objects for those flows, right? Then where is that configuration?
Okay, question is, what is the question? Like
first
suppose if you have a flow,
yeah.
one flow will call another subflows, multiple subflows it will call. If you run the flow, it will create a work object, right? Will it create work objects for child flows? It will not create work objects for child flows. What is the question? Why it is not creating work objects for child flow? When you have a parent flow, child flows are called. It is creating work object only for parent flow, right? It is not creating work objects for child flows. His question is why it is not creating work objects for child flows?
Because after solving the child flow, it go for the parent flow.
You understand question? Yeah. You have parent flow, subflow. You call parent flow in subflow. Sorry, subflow in parent flow. You run the flow. Parent flow is creating work object. Child flow is not creating work object. Why? First, tell me how parent flow creates work object.
Parent flow creates work object by checking the work.
So you have an option. Select creates a new work object on parent flow. Do you have that option on child flow? It will be there. Did you select it or not? You have not selected it. We will not select for subflows that option. It will not create work object. So if you select that option, will it create work object? Have you ever tried? You try it, it will not create. Okay. So if it has to create, then this work object should act as an independent work object, and you need to maintain relation between parent and child work object, like case management. In the case management also, you see, right? Parent case instantiated, child will be instantiated. All these are separate flows or same flow under subflow? Separate flows only. So when you invoke parent work object flow, parent work object flow will also invoke the child work object flows by having some relation. It's not from flow to flow. Okay, these flows also will be invoked. That's it. Any other questions? This is straightforward, pretty straightforward. ఇంతేనా మీరు ఇంటర్వ్యూలో అటెండ్ అవుతుంది?
What is the difference between DSS and system settings?
So dynamic system settings. Question is dynamic system settings versus system settings. Anyone faced with this question? So first of all, what is the purpose of dynamic system settings? First you should know individually, after that only you will compare. Out of these two, you don't know system settings. Can you answer this question? You should know both. When you should know both very well, then you can answer comparison or difference. So what is dynamic system settings first of all? It store the global information which can be read anywhere into your program. If you move to other environment, you can update in the other environment, correct? Yes. System setting. Did you ever open system setting? So if you have not opened it, at least after you face the first interview, second interview you have to open it. By the time you attend second interview, you should know this. Where is it? System setting. So open the system setting. In the system setting record, you will be having like this system setting for production level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see in a dynamic system settings entries in development. If you create a DSS entry, same you will move to other environment, right? What is the advantage now? You can update the URL in the other environment. Like this, 5 different environments will have 5 different URLs. Correct or not? Do you need to update any coding? Do you need to make any code changes when you update the DSS values? No need of updating. No need of making the code changes. This is the advantage of DSS. Correct or not? This is DSS. Now, instead of this approach, creating DSS entry, adding URL, moving it and updating on other environment, I have system settings. Using a system setting, I can define 5 environments URLs here. Look at here. I can define 5 environment URLs. Development environment, this is the URL. URL1 and description, I'll write some description, not mandatory. QA environment URL, I'll write here. Description. UAT, right. Production, right. Something like this. Okay, production should be 5. I will move this rule. On any environment, based on the environment, it will read the one of the entry here. Which one looks simple? DSS or this one? This one looks simple. If you create this rule, this is check-in checkout is there. DSS, you will not be having check-in checkout, you can update. But this one, once you move into other environment, you cannot update it. But it is not required to update because you have different environments different URLs configured here for different environments. You move it, you read by using one of the function, you read function and pass the name of this and rule set. As per the environment that you are accessing this from, it is going to read the URL. Okay, the question here is, how the PRPC knows when you are running in production also same rule will be executed. When you are running in UAT, same rule will be executed. How come UAT when you are accessing, it will read the 4 URL. When you are accessing in production, it will read the 5 URL, say suppose. When you are accessing in QA, it will read the URL 3. When you access in development, it will read the URL 2. When you are accessing in case studies environment, it will access URL 1. Sandbox, practice environment. How PRPC knows this server is production, this server is UAT server, this is a test server, this is development, this is case study server. How Pega comes to know about it? So for that you will be having a rule in Pega. Okay, that rule is system. So if you open the system rule, for each environment you have to create this rule. Development, whenever I have this rule, I'll give the number 2. Okay, when you are running in PRPC, when you log into PRPC server, immediately it will read this value. 2 it will hold somewhere. You are not required to bother about the page. So when the system setting rule is executed, it will compare the rule. This rule value 2 will be compared against this system setting. 2 matching here. It will retrieve the URL 2. When you install PRPC in production server, on that server you are going to give the value of this is 5. When this value is 5, then it is going to read the URL 5 in the production server. That is how it will compare the system rule. System rule will have values 1 to 5. In the system rule development, you will give value 1. Suppose practice environment 1, development is 2, QA is 3, test environment is 4, other environment is 5. You give 5 different URLs, will be matched with that system rule and accordingly it will read the value. This is clear? This is how system understands which environment you are accessing. PRPC comes to know by the parameters, by the rule, system rule. Based on the system rule value, it will compare matching URL it will be accessing. This is one way. DSS is one way, this is another way. What is the disadvantage of this one? What is the disadvantage of DSS? What is the disadvantage of this one? In the production level, will you be having only one endpoint URL? Only one production server will be there? How many will be there? There can be 4 or 3 or 5.
Usually there should be only one DNS.
Okay, node. Okay, if it is only one URL using which, okay, it will go to load balancer, load balancing, it will take endpoint URL again at the web admin. Okay, that is fine. Okay, so if you're configuring independent servers, then it will be a problem. But we generally don't do independent servers. One URL will be there. Using one URL, it will go to load balancing URL. From load balancing, it will go to different servers. So having DSS, you are going to update it whenever you want. Easy to update. But having system setting, if you want to update, what you should do? You have to update it in the development environment and then make changes, check in the new version of the rule set and then move it to the. So you have to do the deployments when you update this. But having in DSS, do you need to do the deployment? you are no need to do it. Directly in the production you can update if you want to update. Okay, so like config level changes. So this is about dynamic system settings versus system settings. DSS are data entries. Both are preferred as according to the requirement. DSS are data entries which can be updated without check-in, check-out. But system settings, will have associated rule set versions. We need to patch it and move to production every time you want to update it. Every time you want to update it, you have to patch it and then move to production environment.
In DSS, apart from URLs, can we also put application?
See there, if you want to know what entries you will make in DSS, best way is to go to sysadmin, go to DSS entries and see what Pega is maintaining for DSS. There are many things where which Pega will maintain in the DSS entries. So if you look at here, suppose attach something, attachment related some of the parameters it is maintaining. Attachment character limit, if you are attaching a document, the characters limit is 1048576. This value will be read from DSS internally. Okay, more than this number of characters if your attachment is going to have, system is not going to accept it. Attachment size value is 100. Okay, whether it is in MB or it's for mobile application. See, this is for mobile. Okay, value is 100, maybe it is MB or I think MB only, 100 MB, you can see in the history. So maximum size, default value will be 100. In case of invalid value, default value it will choose 100 MB. This limit on attachment is applicable when user attachments media using mobile devices only. This is for mobile device. When you are attaching a document from mobile device, this will be attachment size threshold. There is another property. So look at here and go to history. If nothing is written, might be it is 5 MB for the attachment document that you attach. Maybe if you go to help content, you will understand.
Apart from system provider, application might have say 30 or 40 global variables.
You can have n number of entries created in DSS as per your business logic. But for one same property, you have different values
So
that you want to write in DSS. It's not good to go ahead with DSS. Better you define in a table and read it accordingly. Okay. So like this, there are a number of entries in DSS available in PRBC that Pega uses. If you look at what is Pega using, you will understand what type of values you can write. URLs also been mentioned here, attachment related, some of the other things are available. If you read it and go to the history and then understand from the history, it will be very easy. Blob size aggregate interval -1 something is giving. So there are many parameters which will be read from DSS and it will compare these DSS values irrespective of environment. Okay. Okay, we'll wind up for today. We'll continue tomorrow. Okay, but one thing that you need to do is you should be learning Pega in a way to understand tool, not a requirement. That is what we have concluded today.